For over 6 decades, the Indian economy has operated inside a complex, aging legal structure. That structure has finally been demolished. The 1961 Act was a dense bureaucratic web of 819 sections and hundreds of rules. The 2025 Act strips that down to a highly efficient geometric block of 536 sections. This streamlined code governs all new income generated strictly from April 1, 2026. Tax rates remain identical to the previous year, but the underlying legal architecture has been entirely re-engineered. The government has dismantled the old system and rebuilt it around 3 new pillars: synchronous compliance timelines, the deliberate elimination of legacy deductions, and a strict transfer of corporate tax burdens directly to the investor. Because the transition window is extremely narrow, financial controllers and wealth managers must entirely recalibrate their models before the old mechanisms lock permanently. Mastering the mechanics of the 2025 Act is now the critical difference between proactive wealth preservation and reactive compliance failure. For decades, Indian taxation forced businesses to operate in 2 asynchronous timelines. The new code entirely eliminates the dual concept of the previous year and assessment year. Legacy architecture forced a lag. Income earned in financial year 2026-27 was only assessed in the following assessment year 2027-28. The 2025 Act collapses this. Earning, filing, and assessment now merge into a single synchronous window, the unified tax year. From April 2026 onward, Form 16s and TDS certificates and carry-forward windows for capital losses will reflect this exact singular tax year designation. Any income earned prior to April 2026, including the entirety of financial year 2025-26, remains locked into the old rules, filed under the legacy assessment year 2026-27 framework. By unifying the timeline, the law accelerates tax strategy. Planners can no longer rely on a delayed assessment window. Decisions must be executed synchronously with the year the capital is earned. The structure of the new law heavily incentivizes mass migration to the new tax regime, establishing it as the default setting for all individual taxpayers. The primary mechanism driving this migration is the massive rebate housed under Section 87A. As taxable income rises to 12 lakhs, a 60,000 rupee rebate descends, negating the tax liability to zero. For salary professionals, an automatic 75,000 rupee standard deduction stacks on top, pushing the zero taxation threshold to exactly 12.75 lakhs. Because of this aggressive engineering, the old tax regime is rendered mathematically obsolete for most taxpayers earning under 15 lakhs. The new system achieves this efficiency through subtraction, eliminating ADC investments, house rent allowance, and medical insurance write-offs. The government has built a framework where extreme, frictionless simplicity actively outcompetes complex deduction harvesting for the professional middle class. For high-income earners, the central strategic question is calculating the exact threshold where the old regime regains a mathematical advantage. Wealth managers use the break-even deduction test to allocate their clients to the optimal tax regime. We plot gross annual income against required deductions. For a professional earning 15 lakhs, the break-even threshold is roughly 3.75 lakh rupees. Extrapolating the curve to a 30 lakh bracket, the math becomes severe. A taxpayer needs over 8 lakhs in eligible deductions. Hitting these high thresholds mathematically requires heavy capital allocation, maximizing the ADC limit, adding maximum NPS contributions, claiming senior citizen healthcare costs, and massive home loan interest. However, a critical update to the house rent allowance rules alters this equation for renters. The 2026 rules expand the 50% HRA exemption from 4 legacy metros to 8 specific cities. By injecting Bengaluru, Pune, Hyderabad, and Ahmedabad into the formula, renters in these tech hubs can suddenly generate massive deductions to cross the break-even line. The old regime functions as a specific niche tool for high-income earners carrying significant structural housing and investment expenses. Beyond individual tax brackets, the 2025 Act executes deep structural changes to corporate capital architecture. The most aggressive pivot targets how corporations return capital to shareholders, specifically penalizing share buybacks. Pre-2026, buyback proceeds functioned as deemed dividends, locked at the corporate level, extracting a 22 to 30% tax straight from the company treasury. Post-2026, the law violently shifts this. For retail investors, the buyback is now classified as capital gains. Retail investors gain a mechanical advantage by deducting their initial acquisition cost from taxable buyback proceeds, lowering the net tax burden if shares are held for over 12 months. Shifting the tax incidence from the corporate treasury directly onto the individual investor rewrites how public companies will execute capital return strategies moving forward. The second major corporate shock is the deliberate dismantling of the minimum alternate tax architecture. On paper, the government has optically reduced the MAT rate down to 14% of book profits, but the legislation hides a structural catch. After April 2026, absolutely no new MAT credits will accrue. The MAT is transformed from an offsettable advance into a final sunk tax. For companies holding massive accumulated MAT credits, the new code enforces a strict amortization schedule. Existing credits can only be utilized to offset regular tax liability at a maximum rate of 1/4 of that balance per year. In the public markets, the new code targets derivative traders with a heavy structural cost. The securities transaction tax, levied specifically on future sales, is scaled up to 0.05%, a direct 2.5 times increase in the cost of executing a trade. These hidden capital levers will mathematically punish corporations and volume traders who fail to adjust their capitalization and trading models before the 2026 cutoff. While the final text of the 2025 Act is mathematically simpler, the immediate transition period is fraught with overlapping compliance traps. Taxpayers must navigate the final filing deadlines for the old framework to ensure their rights are preserved under the transition safeguards. This dual-track calendar maps the critical dates. July and August 2026 are the absolute deadlines for finalizing old returns. Simultaneously, April 1, 2026 serves as the hard cutoff where new MAT and buyback rules permanently lock into place. Corporate controllers have an urgent mandate. They must mathematically model their MAT credit utilization strategies immediately before fresh credit accrual permanently ceases. Wealth managers must aggressively run the break-even deduction test across their entire client base, preventing high-net-worth individuals from being swept into an irreversible default migration. The explicit cost of inaction during this transition window is immediate margin degradation, driven entirely by suboptimal regime allocation and stranded corporate credits. The Income Tax Act 2025 represents a ground-up architectural rebuild of Indian capital regulation. It forces a massive economic machine to abandon decades of asynchronous timeline confusion, dragging every taxpayer into a strictly synchronous framework of earning and compliance. The rules of engagement are now defined by unified time, a formidable break-even deduction wall, and a calculated transfer of capital tax incidence. Legacy tax harvesting strategies are dead. Future corporate and individual advisory must be built entirely from these new first principles. You have a fleeting window to master this code before the transition locks in. Map your exposure and finalize your extraction models today. In the streamlined era of the 2025 Act, proactive structural alignment constitutes a core fiduciary duty.